All right. Last Sunday was Easter. I'm going to start with a scripture on Easter. Again, the Bible, it's a book. It has many characters in it. Jesus is a character in the Bible, but Jesus is not the main character. I'm going to go over a few of the characters in the Bible, but Jesus is not the main character. The main character in the Bible is God. However, God has this book. It has all these books in it. Books have chapters in it. They describe a bunch of things. This is God speaking his perspective as he's watching mankind. He's watching males and females, billions of them, billions, if not trillions of males and females that have walked the earth by now. He's watching them. He's noticing the patterns. So he's like, I don't want males and females to think that I don't notice these patterns. Let me write them down so at least they have an opportunity to read them. But he did this one-time event with this guy, Jesus. It says, on the first day of the week, Sunday, very early in the morning, women took some spices and went to a tomb. When people died back then, they put them in a tomb. So they wanted to go and make his body smell good because after you've been dead a while, your body starts smelling real nasty. I don't know if you ever smelled an animal, but once you die, you start stinking. So they took spices, but stone was rolled away from the tomb. And when they entered, they did not find the body of the Lord Jesus. While they were wondering about this, suddenly two men, didn't say angels, it says men, suddenly two men in clothes that gleamed like lightning stood before them. In their fright, the women bowed down with their faces to the ground. But the men said to them, why are you looking for the living among the dead? He is not here. He is risen. Remember how he told you while he was with you in Galilee? The Son of Man must be delivered over to the hands of sinners, be crucified, and on the third day be raised again. Then they remembered, oh, yeah, he did say that. But if you notice, this is a story about Easter, and it says the Son of Man must be delivered over to the hands of what? Sinners. Is it a coincidence that the number one movie in the world right now is a movie called Sinners that was released on Easter? That's a vampire movie written by an African American. We as African Americans, the spiritual leaders of the world, you have a population in America that's crying out for some type of spiritual data, some type of information. We have churches on almost every corner that talk about God, but where's the depth? And so Ryan Coogler, a man that literally came out of USC, was in all this debt. He makes a movie called Sinners, releases it on Easter, and it's sizzling towards $100 million. I've seen the movie, shot very well. Not going to get into a debate about it or whatever, but I wanted to mention, is it a coincidence, at least to God that wrote the Bible, that on Easter weekend, a movie comes out called Sinners? It says the Son of Man must be delivered over to the hands of sinners, be crucified, and on the third day be raised again. Again, referring back to the Bible, I'm heading somewhere. The Bible is a book with many characters. Jesus is not the main character. There's a book called the Quran. Muhammad is not the main character. There's a book called the Bhagavad Gita. The Buddha is not the main character. All three of those people refer to this thing called God. Jesus said here, Jesus spoke to them and says, the kingdom of heaven is like a king who prepared a wedding banquet for his son. A lot of people think, Jesus talking about himself, but in this language here, he's saying a king, God. Jesus knows that there's a God, and the Bible's about him, who prepared a wedding banquet for his son. That's him, Jesus. But some people think Jesus was the king. But he goes out and says, come. But people are saying, I can't come. I got to do this. I got to do that. It says the king was enraged. Here's another parable. It says, a certain man was preparing a great banquet and invited many guests. At the time of the banquet, he sent his servant to tell those who had been invited, come, for everything is now ready. But they all began to make excuses. The first one said, I just bought a field. Please excuse me. The other one says, I just bought this. Please excuse me. Another one says, I just got married, so I can't come. So the owner, he's angry. Again, he's enraged. You know, we're made in God's image. We have emotions. So we got that from God. God, he's angry. He says, go out and bring the poor, the crippled, the blind, and the lame. This is a metaphor. This is not literally the poor, but this again gets back to humility. The spiritually poor, the spiritually crippled, the spiritually blind, the spiritually lame. Those men and women that are humble enough to see themselves before God as poor, crippled, blind, and lame. These people up here, they didn't see themselves that way. They had things to do. So when it was time to assemble, they couldn't show up. They had other things to do. Back this up. In Jesus' parable of the wedding feast, again, you guys know I work in IT as a coder. So I communicate a lot with Gemini. Gemini is the Google chatbot. He's not real. He's not a human, but he's going to outlive all of us. And he's growing in his knowledge. Google chatbot. His name is Gemini. You know, and he's starting to actually talk about God. Google chatbot. In Jesus' parable of the wedding feast, the importance of humility is highlighted. So even a robot knows what the parable is about. It's not about poor people or blind or crippled people. It's about the importance of humility. The parable illustrates that God judges the heart, the mind, the will, and the emotions, not outward appearances, meaning those things that we say or the clothes that we wear. It says those who humble themselves will be honored, while those who exalt themselves will be humbled. What am I building towards? Well, most guys on MEPA are black men, and we need to discuss humility today. Let's begin with that. Will Smith, a 56-year-old man, just released an album. How did it do? Will Smith dealt major blow. His comeback album flops. It sold 268 copies in the UK. 268 copies. Despite star-studded collaborations and personal lyrics addressing what? This. Let me show it to you here. Share.
You know who's got the hardest job tonight? Javier Bardem and his wife are both nominated. Now, if she loses, he can't win. He is praying that Will Smith wins. Like, please, Lord. Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow.
This man has worked his whole life as a rapper and then as an actor. And this is a night where he won the award for Best Actor finally. But did he show up to the Oscars in humility?
Ow.
Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. He slaps a host.
Will Smith just smacked the shit out of him.
Now he's been canceled. Album has sold 268 copies. He's been canceled. Undeterred, Will Smith plans to release 2 more albums and embark on his first headline tour across where? Europe. Good idea, Will, because in America, sir, you have been canceled. Let's keep going. I know you guys, I was surprised Joe didn't talk about this, but I know you guys have been hearing about Shedeur Sanders. We are in the middle of the NFL draft right now. And for some reason, Shedeur Sanders has not been drafted. I'm going to play this clip here.
You have said that if the right team does not pick him, that you will intervene.
That's my son. It's not like who I would like for him to play for. It's a couple teams that I won't allow him to play for. It's almost like you got a child that's going into an occupation that you already dominated in. Like, come on. And you don't think I'm not gonna sit there like a navigational system and tell him, take a right there, take a left right there, take a, not that, not that, oh, no. Like, that's who I'm called to. That's my son.
But you and I both know these coaches, these owners, right? You've been in the rooms.
Right.
The owners, billionaire owners.
Yes.
Will often say, well, This is a young man who should be making his own decisions. He's got this helicopter dad.
Not my son.
Again, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, he's worked his whole life as a cornerback and then become a coach and become a successful coach. But is he humble? Is he humble? Again, we're having a conversation about humility, not about talent, skills. Will Smith, great actor, average to above average rapper in his time, being canceled. Is it Shedeur Sanders' fault that he hasn't been drafted? I would venture that it isn't. Shedeur Sanders has been posting for the last 2 days about God and keeping his head high. But in the NFL draft, before you get drafted, they do interviews. They interview you. And then they're saying in these interviews, I don't want to just, make stuff up. They're saying that he failed the interviews with his brashness. He failed the interviews with his lack of humility. I'm going to pull up another player here for us older guys. Randy Moss. Again, humility. When Randy Moss retired, he said, I'm the greatest wide receiver of all time. He named Terrell Owens the second best wide receiver of all time. That kind of made Jerry Rice mad, right? Because Jerry Rice played 7 more seasons than Randy Moss, caught 600 more balls than Randy Moss, 7,000 more yards than Randy Moss, 40 more touchdowns than Randy Moss, 3 Super Bowl wins, Super Bowl MVP. And Jerry Rice has never come out and said, I'm the greatest receiver of all time. It's about humility. Last but not least, Shannon Sharpe. Again, what's going on, guys? This is an era of time where we as African-American men, the spiritual foundation of the world, are supposed to be showing up. Shannon Sharpe, who's just landed a $100 million deal with his Club Shay Share, whatever the name of his show is, he's being sued for $50 million by a 21-year-old white lady that he started dating 2 years ago.
To my family, friends, supporters, and colleagues, I want to speak to you directly and from the heart. This is a shakedown.
They've put out a leaked audio, 30 seconds of a 10-minute conversation that Shannon Sharpe had with this girl that he dated for 2 years. Is Shannon Sharpe innocent? Is he guilty? Who knows? But we do see a pattern. We see now we have a new black man that we can put on top. His name's Ryan Coogler. There'll always be another man to replace the man on top. From Will Smith to Randy Moss to Shannon Sharpe to Deion Sanders, now Shedeur Sanders. They just move on. And when it's time, they're able to cancel us. And how do they cancel us? I propose it's through our lack of humility. And so our conversation today is around humility. And my question is, and I've already spoken for 10 minutes and I'm done. Okay, Malcolm, you're right. Maybe there is a humility problem, but how do we as black men make it in America that's always against us? Don't we have to have some form of confidence to get to the level that these guys got to? Absolutely. So the question or the conversation I'd like to have today is around what is the difference between humility and confidence? And how does that apply to us as a group? What is the difference between humility and confidence? If it takes us 20 years to get there, we've worked our whole lives to get there, and they finally put a microphone in one of our hands to speak. What is the difference between humility and confidence when the recognition does come? And how do we prepare for that moment and not react as so many of our predecessors in the past have? That is an open question. What is the difference between humility and confidence? Thank you. Go ahead, Andre.
Yeah. For my first thought is it's an internal mindset. Like when you've been through something and you've come out victorious on the other side, when you've been through some hardships and you've come out victorious on the other side, I don't think you have to compare that to anybody else. I think that's one thing that leads me to say I can be humble and confident and saying that, hey, I made it through without saying oh, but I beat Marcus through, or I beat Joe through. I'm the best. I'm the best out of those guys when we all went through the same thing. So humility and confidence leads to, this is just my thought. Humility and confidence leads to saying, or the internal mindset, like, yeah, I made it through and I don't have to shade anybody else. I don't have to put down anybody else.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Confidence is being able to say, you know, you did it and you did it right.
So with confidence, it's just you preparing yourself to do well in a given situation through preparation and just being mentally ready for that situation. And then humility is, just being able to, have a modest enough view about yourself to where you don't have to look down on others in spite of your confidence.
Jacoby just jumped. Good morning, sir. We were talking about Shedeur Sanders, a young man your age. What is the difference between humility and confidence, or what are your thoughts on humility and confidence? And you can use Shedeur as an example if you would like.
I mean, from what my understanding is, humility is kind of turned or tied to humbleness, and I guess what people's understanding of confidence is, I feel like some people take it as cocky, but I feel that confidence is just trust in oneself. Maybe after, repetition of a certain thing or something you've done for a while, that you just know that you're going to perform well in a certain category. And I think you need both. I think you need both. I don't know too much about Shedeur. I know they probably call him cocky from, the jewelry, the flashy lifestyle, probably from his pops and maybe his upbringing. But sometimes you need that for a team. Sometimes you need that for an environment to kind of stimulate it. So,
as we just laid out the guys that did the actions that they did, there's really a time and a place that has to be practiced for some of these actions that come across to where I just kind of view it on those two words that you just mentioned.
I believe this, that you need a little bit of both. And who determines whether you're cocky? And who determines whether you're humble? Who determines that? I believe that depending on where you are in your life determines what you need. However, here's the key. Where's the balance for each individual? Because some people say they're humble and they really aren't. They're humble when they're in the front of you, but in their head, there's a whole nother thing going on. So do you determine this by what you see, or do you determine it about what you are for real?
Gemini's definition of humility is a modest or low view of one's own importance, humbleness. It says Oxford, but again, if you take it to a spiritual perspective, what this omits is a view of one's own importance in relation to God. It's one thing to compare yourself to another person, right? When you know you have a unique quality. But true humility is a view of one's own importance in relation to God.
Confidence and cockiness are two different things. I think confidence, there is a level of humility that can involve itself in confidence. I believe that somebody could be confident, and because they're confident, they're humble.
Gemini says humility, it defines humility without any concept of God, of one's own low view, good, modest or low view of one's own importance, not in relationship to God. Confidence, right, in the dictionary is different than self-confidence. I wanted to see if anybody caught that. There's a such thing as confidence, and then there's self-confidence. Confidence is the feeling or belief that one can rely on someone or something. Again, in human terms, we often refer to that as ourselves, but that's actually in the dictionary a different word, self-confidence. And then cocky is conceited or arrogant, especially in a bold or impudent way, oftentimes associated with being young. So cocky is oftentimes associated with being young.
Let me say this. Looking at Deion Sanders' son, from parents and teaching your kids to walk in confidence and humility. Here go a real deal that I see in this. Sometimes we can mess up our children's future because it's not that people don't want to deal with our children, they don't want to deal with us. And I see that as an issue, even with this draft situation, that at some point you have to learn to back off because you may be confident and you may be humble, but you have to know how to bring the balance in. And so with that being said, I have seen people come into MEPA who is very confident, but they crazy as hell. I've seen people come in and they turn things inside out, but they were confident. Do any of you have the confidence to be the governor of Georgia right now?
No, just hear me. No.
Or do you have the humility for what will come along when they pull your history up and all you done to not go off on stage or your behavior counsel you for being the governor? I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'm still in the same thing. I had to end up with many of these people that hurt me immensely to go to them and ask that they forgive me, and I ain't did nothing to them in my eyes. I might have, I don't know, and ask them to forgive me. And it was an humbling thing for me. In some cases, I found out that people were really, 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 really going through. And in some cases, people that I knew that I did anything, they said stuff like, it's about time. And I want to switch out on them, but I had to remain humble because there was a bigger purpose in mind. So when we start talking about humility, real humility, you do not just get there.
Yes, I have a story. I have had, back in my day, 2 or 3 vehicles repossessed. I didn't have $50 to my name, and I didn't have it. My dad wouldn't give it to me. But those are the things, that's one of the things that brought me to this level of respect for money and how to shape my life a little bit, because I went through those things. So I think, yeah, everybody has a story and we can use it here.
Do you have people in your life that you listen to that bring you and talk to you about your humility and your confidence? I'll call them accountability partners.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do. Of course, you're one, my friend. We've been friends for 20-something years.
Yes.
And there was times in my life that I was living in my car in between my positions that I had with my company would send me to state, and I couldn't afford to do that. And I remember I used to call you about, even when I was married, about my marriage and things like that. We talked about those things. So again, like I said, humility is a continual thing throughout our entire lives till we leave this earth.
I was built to be different because one day God, he said, how you know you're going to be a leader? Because I dared to be different. I dared to be who I am. And it came with a lot of craziness. I believe that's a part of the confidence building. When God has something great for you, that you got to own who you are and own your journey, the good part of it and the bad part of it.
Yes, sir.
And I'm very serious. And, and my biggest challenge is, oftentimes, even when I do it today and I work hard at it, is that I tend to sometimes think that people just automatically have this level of confidence to do what they call they do. And the truth of the matter, they don't. And you have to respect that everybody's not built the same, and you're not better than them, and they're not better than you. But there's a certain level of confidence, brothers, that I have to have just to do this, especially with all the stuff of dealing with 600 men, and you help folks and they take advantage of you and they talk about you like a dog. And for the most part, 90% of the things you say, they just take it and turn it into something else totally different. They smile in your face and stab you in the back and all this stuff and get together. And that's all a part of life. But the reason why I can't do it, because first of all, I'm a minority. Secondly, because it's a part of what God has placed in me to be able to do this. Like each and every one of you have a journey to confidence and to real humility.
So I will give another example. When you say so confidence, if anybody knows, whether you know this or not, every Thursday, Marcus Martin does Empowerment Zone on Facebook. And I will say over the years, this brother has there's a person that he calls on Thursdays to get juiced up before he goes to Empowerment Zone. So I also sow confidence into Marcus Martin as well.
Thanks for that little prop, Malcolm. Let me just say that Derek Brown, I need you to come off of mute for a second.
Yes, sir.
Derek, welcome, Derek. Derek Brown is one of our new team members. Derek, you want to tell the team a little bit about who you are?
Yes, I'm Derek Brown. I'm originally from Atlanta, 55 years old. I have 7 grown children, one more to go. Graduates next year, and I have 7 grandbabies. Love the Lord and just love being around people and making new friends, and looking forward to the many opportunities and the many events that's coming forth with Mephibosheth.
Well, thank you, Derek. We appreciate you. I've known Derek him and his wife for a very, 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 very long time. At one point, when the church they were a part of the Purpose Church. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Welcome to MEPA. Also, Gregory, anything you want to, Gregory's one of our new team members. Greg, you like to tell them who you are and where you reside?
Thank you, Brother Marcus. I appreciate it. I reside in Orlando, Florida. I have my own detailing business, which I've owned for over 26 years. And I appreciate the invitation to be a part of MEPA. One of the things I've learned is in this journey, you have to watch your surroundings and who you talk to as far as the journey and destination that you're trying to grow. So MEPA has been an environment where what I've observed so far has been around a lot of powerful and inspiring brothers. I give you compliments as far as all the gentlemen who are involved with MEPA.
Welcome your ideas. And just real brief before we get off here, let me just tell you some of the things that we are about to do here in the metropolitan area. A part of it is building our brand. So any of you, if you know some brothers, we want to keep it simple, nothing difficult. We got to climb up a ladder and jump over the board and nothing like that to collaborate. So Andre, we don't need you. We're not coming out there to jump over no firewalls to collaborate with the fire department, okay? Okay, so it's a team building project. Also, just keeping in mind, for those of you who want to know where your money is going, if you're a non-member, $20 a month, you're a leader, $25. We have obligations such as website. We have obligation as corporation. We have obligation in order for us to apply for 501c3. The lowest level is $300. So we're not just taking your money and going out and buying shoes every month. I thought I would say that so everybody will be on the same page. Nobody has really asked, but it's good to know where your investments are and what you're doing. Brothers, we appreciate you. Thank you, new MEPA members. Welcome aboard. Someone will be calling you for membership to keep you updated about what's going on and all the above. And God bless you. Peace, blessing, wholeness. Thank you, Andre, for coming on, working all night and I see sleep in your eyes. We appreciate you. God bless you. Have a great day, a great week.